just give you in an improvised way a couple of things which really made me depressed. You know what is happening? Did you notice this? How we were claiming for years, oh, this is like fascism, authoritarianism, but we were always conscious that this was some kind of rhetorical exaggeration that will shock our opponents. No, now it's literally true. For example, I claimed at the Frankfurt Book Fair a year and a half ago, I drew attention to this link between a certain type of Zionism and fascism. And again, at the origin of this is, as you probably know, a very honest act, a letter published in 1946 in New York Times, a whole page paid advertisement signed among others by Albert Einstein, Hannah Arendt, and so on, where they warn that there are tendencies there in Palestine among the Jews who resemble Nazism. But now this is becoming a reality. If you ask me, it was a minor event, then people say, but unimportant, marginal. I like these small notes. Did you read in the newspaper, I don't know how much it was reported, even many Jews were embarrassed, that last week in Jerusalem, there was a conference, even some members of the government boycotted it, a conference organized by Netanyahu and his right-wing partisans on anti-Semitism, how to fight anti-Semitism today. Among the people there, people were shocked. You know who is, I hope I will pronounce the name correctly, who is the second guy who will now probably take over since Marine Le Pen was condemned? Jordan Bardella, did I? Okay. But you know, Le Front National has roots in anti-Semitism. The founding father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, was an open Holocaust denier, or at least in this Ahmadinejad style. You know, maybe it happened, maybe not. We need more research and so on. Now, and there were some other people from the extreme right. But this is what's happening now, that it's literally coming to a pact between Western European extreme right and at least some trend in Israel. And it's clear why, because they both have the same racist agenda. For both of them, Palestinians or Arabs are a threat, and so on and so on. But what really worries me is, if this is not a horror, then I don't know horror is. Did you notice with the last incident in Gaza and on the West Bank, we are entering a new period of no deniability. When IDF is caught doing something, they don't bother to properly deny it or justify it. They just make some vague statement. I'm not talking so much about this horror a week or two ago, you know, killing of some medical Palestinian person and so on. But that's another. But what shocked me, although it's much less, you know who is Hamdan Balal, that movie director who, together with an Israel director, I think there were four, did No Other Land, that movie. What shocked me so much is, you can find it on YouTube, everything is recorded. Settlers are coming, protected by soldiers, police, they beat Palestinians. The guy, co-director, just goes out, he is beaten by settlers and by police or IDF, whoever, and then who is arrested at the end? Him. And another or two Palestinians, him. Okay, it happened. I'm very cynical here. I know so many details about what they're doing in different countries. Like, I don't know if I already told you this story. A Slovene journalist of mine was towards the end of Saddam Hussein's rule in Iraq. And a guy wanted to warn him, don't inquire too much. So he took him to a place. He says, this guy, it's so horrible that even if you tell it around, nobody will believe you. And he saw opponents of Saddam still alive, hanging from down only by the how to call it? They were hanging on their balls. Their balls were linked to some rope to the and so on. And then he said, "Okay, I hope you got the message." So all things happen. But you know what depressed me? Usually, it's horrible what I will say, but I hope you will get the point. One would at least expect from the Israeli side to say something like, this movie director was there, I don't know, throwing stones or I don't know what. No, they just said, because they couldn't accuse him of anything, they said that he was detained for health reasons, like he being wounded. And then what happened was that his lawyer called the prison. They said, we don't know anything about him. He was chained to the floor for 20 hours and then he was released. Absolutely no explanation. We are really entering this new stage when, again, obscenity is becoming open. It's more and more fully normalized. Here I remain the point that I often make here, a traditional European hypocrite. It's nonetheless better to be hypocritical, because then at least you minimally expose yourself to criticism. It's interesting, this movie, No Other Land, because I got caught in some polemics with more radical pro-Palestinians in New York where I was a month ago. And again, a strange thing happened. They opposed the movie. They claimed that, yes, it's a truthful picture of what happens on the West Bank, but that in its forum, it remains racist. Because first, it proposes to stand enact the idea that above all the confusion, there still can be friendship between an Israeli Jew and a Palestinian. To this, it was easy for me to reply that no, they are not friends in general. It would be, I agree, obscene if the idea was, yes, they are killing Palestinians there, maybe some Jew at another place, but let's just be friends and wander around. No, they collaborate, the two, precisely to show what is happening to Palestinians on the West Bank. So it's not a neutral humanitarian friendship. But second approach, which appears more up to the point, is that, there is an unwritten rule, and I noticed it, that even if you are part of, let's call it, liberal Zionism, and admit there are injustices happening to Palestinians and so on, if you do a movie on it, it's never just Palestinian subjectivity. There has to be a good Jew supporting them, not directly just Palestinians. Well, I disagreed with the guy. I said, yes, you made the point. But look about what happened, this arrest of Balal. It happened because of that movie and because the movie got Oscar and so on. You know what I mean? I think we are in such desperate times that maybe while we stick each of us, to our point apropos specific problems, projects, we have to practice, I will use this old-fashioned term from 1930s, popular front. If somebody is ready to really fight for human rights there, you don't go into this, but how far does he go? Does he admit that Hamas is, like for some more radicals, they say the only thing that matters is that you admit Hamas as the only true resistance group. I don't buy this for a simple reason. You know what happened now? And it's again the shamelessness. My old idea, the only guys whom you trust are ex-secret police bosses, Shin Bet or Mossad. I'm more and more convinced of it. Did you read the news that Netanyahu fired a week or two ago, fired the Mossad boss? And I looked into what was behind. The official version was they didn't prepare Israel enough for September 7th attack. No. They did even warn the government. The point is that this boss of Mossad made nonetheless a much more honest report. The point was, if we don't open some space for Palestinians, for their political sovereignty, autonomy, we are lost, it's eternal warfare and so on. That was behind. Plus another thing, my God, this gets nice. Mossad was beginning to investigate the financial dealings of some rich Israelis with Qatar. And now it came out. Did you read? Now it's not just a rumor. We have the whole chain. One of the best friends of Netanyahu, I forgot his name, a billionaire, was transferring his money to Qatar, and you know where the money went? To Hamas. It's not a joke. Israel was the main financial source supporter of Hamas because they judged in a very brutal way that this is the only way to keep Palestinians apart, West Bank, and so on and so on. So again, this just goes on. It doesn't even surprise us too much, and so on and so on. What, on the other hand, yes, so that's why I will tell you before you will reach some idiots to attack me. I still have some links among progressive Jews. And one of them, the guy who maybe at some point you should invite him here, he is very progressive. And today in Israel, you can define in a very precise empirical way what progressive is. He's afraid, scared like shit that he will lose his job.